At Vibra Finance, we seek out the hidden gems in cryptocurrency. We will tailor your portfolio to work for you. Are you ready to transition your investments from traditional markets to cryptocurrency? Are your coins staked and earning interest? Are you overwhelmed with all the jargon in crypto? Is your portfolio underperforming and you want to reposition into consistent winning blue chip coins and viable projects? Do you feel like you missed out on DeFi, Metaverse, and NFTs? Here at Vibra Finance, we provide you with the data, skills, and tools you need to stay on top of the digital asset market. Vibra Finance. We are the future of crypto.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Vibra Live. A lot of stuff happening lately. Some craziness with Gary Gensler in Congress. Some madness in the meme coins. A lot going on. This industry never sleeps 24/7. We always got something. So if you're not following us on Twitter, follow us at Vibra Finance. Try to boost the socials. The bull market is near. If you are interested in your journey, where to start with crypto, or know someone that's on the fence, we have a Getting Started with Crypto workbook. Walks you through exactly how to custody crypto safely, securely on your own, so you don't have to worry about Kraken or Voyager or Celsius or any of the other centralized nightmares. So let's get into the bubbles today. Look at that. A beautiful Wednesday. I mean, blood across the markets everywhere. Kind of anticipated, right? We surged up over 30,000. Altcoins were pumping for a little bit. Now we got our pullback. And depending on what Bitcoin can do, if we can kind of bounce back in the next couple of days and hold up over 30 while dominance comes down, I think alts are going to rip. I really hope that happens. We get a little alt season. I just have a feeling the whales like to take their profits from Bitcoin and ETH and then, funnel it down into the altcoins and pump them up. Still looking at the week, we still have some decent winners. We're bullish as heck on Casper, Radix. We've been talking about that for months, with the Sui airdrop that I missed out on because I'm in the United States. That stuff pisses me off. I wish they would just tell you that. I spent a month and a half on that test net doing stuff, just using it, hopefully to qualify for an airdrop. And then come to find out, oh yeah, it's not available in the United States. So some disclosure would be nice, but regardless, now I'm a bull on Radix. I'm not even going to really talk about Sui and Aptos anymore. Radix, I think, is the one. I've been saying that for 6 months now in that kind of niche of the market. And it's nice to finally see when mainnet launched that we're getting some green candles. Gotta love it. Looking at XEN here, pumping like crazy. Obviously, a pullback came down. We pretty much lost to zero for a second, dipped back down, but now we're climbing back up on the hourly, back up 10%. It's crazy to watch. And watch the sentiment change, how fast it does. From a coin that just goes down 99%. But people are now probably realizing, a coin that you can mint for free, the price is going to go down and straight to the right. That's how it is. If you get something for free, it's worth value. You're going to extract that value. And now we're starting to see with XEN that the burn is starting to really take effect with the NFTs. I think there's a day or so left. So a lot of supply is coming off the market with DBZen. So we've already burned 4 trillion coins. Look at that. So $30 million of XEN already burned. And I know people have been talking about this. The inflation. Look how much comes out. I get it. I understand that. But it's growing so fast, there might not be enough XEN around. And with gas this expensive, the minting really chills out. So, I burned a big batch about 10 days ago for DXN and staked that. And I was looking at the NFTs, but I don't know if I'm going to do that. I just staked my bag of XEN and got an NFT for that and have some more liquid. And it's going to kind of play it by ear and just kind of see where this goes. I've been bullish on Zen from day one. It's different. It was rolled out completely free. You got to understand that. It's not like Hex. It doesn't have an owner. This was rolled out for the community. It's the only coin. Well, when X1 comes out, it's going to be the only L1 with no VC funding, no team, and nothing. All 100% goes to the community. And there's nothing like this out there, in my opinion. And X1 is coming, and Phoenix too. There's so much happening. And people can say, oh, well, Zen failed, so they need all these other side projects just to keep the scam going. Well, if you think that, or you're listening to people that say that, block them and delete them right now. You're wasting your time. They're extremely low IQ or they're biased. Either or. So just keep an eye out on it. It's alt season right now, I think. This little pullback is needed. A day of blood so people can reset. Yeah, Bitcoin's going back down to 20K. Get everyone bearish again. Get the shorts on and then annihilate them. When everyone starts going long, inevitably the markets dump. When everyone's long or when everyone's short, the market pumps. It's always a game of opposites and inverses in crypto. So checking out Pepe here. So shout out Hex Hangout. I FOMO'd into Pepe, not even going to lie. So I had a bag of XEN that I had for a little while. It was only like $250. And, caught the FOMO from Pepe from Hex Hangout. Was listening to the Twitter Spaces yesterday. And why not? A couple $100. I know, I bought it at 0.19 or something like that. So it did almost double up at 3,600 and retrace, but it's fun. It gives you something to do. When I'm 99% staked in Hex, I can't just look at my stakes and wait for Pulse Chain. I can't do it. I like to explore other stuff. I like to see what's going on in other communities. And in doing that, you find out that a lot of these other communities are very similar to the ones we're in. People have that same passion, that same belief to help the world, to help people get power out of a few hands and spread it around. That's a common theme around crypto communities. And I think people are starting to realize that. And the sentiment is going to start to shift and people will come together. I think the best thing right now would be if Coinbase and Kraken and all the American companies sued Coinbase or sued the SEC. If they all came together and did that and put pressure on them. And, we'll talk a little bit about that in a second, but I just had to point this out that Taylor Swift did her homework on FTX and dodged a bullet. As Tom Brady and Shaq, they just fell victim to it. They couldn't resist the money. So Taylor Swift was one of the celebrities who did their due diligence. The one person I found that did was Taylor Swift. In our discovery, Taylor Swift actually asked them, "Can you tell me that these are not unregistered securities?" Moskowitz said Swift reportedly came close to inking a $100 million sponsorship deal with FTX. $100 million. So how much did Tom Brady and Shaq get paid? But the partnership never materialized, and Swift did not immediately respond for a comment. Taylor Swift knows about unregistered securities, really? Then that's interesting. Well, I just thought this was really funny that out of all people, Taylor Swift dodged the bullet. It was able to see what Tom Brady and Shaq and these guys couldn't. So what this SEC, this was really interesting. One of the first exchanges out I remember seeing back in 2017 was Bittrex and Bittrex. And the fact that they're being sued now as they're pretty much leaving the United States was really interesting to me. I looked into what else was going on, and my honest opinion, why this is happening is because they were selling tokenized stocks. I think that was the problem. I really do. They do not want to see companies beating them to the end game of where these institutions and banks are trying to take this, a one-stop shop for everything, for crypto, for tokenized assets, tokenized bonds, NFTs, you name it. It's all going to be a one-stop shop. And Bittrex announced it was shutting down late last month, and the SEC is still coming after them. Really interesting. Yet again makes plain that the crypto markets suffer from a lack of regulatory compliance, not a lack of regulatory clarity, says Gary Gensler. Today, we're holding Bittrex accountable for its non-compliance. Well, they're leaving, and this is going to be what happens to Coinbase if they keep it up. Could you imagine if Coinbase packed up and left the United States? How detrimental that would be and how bad that would be for the SEC, which is why I kind of think all of this is kind of an act. Gary Gensler says securities law is time-tested. Crypto just needs to fall in line. He continues to hint that if the public is anticipating profits based on efforts of others in a common enterprise, those are indicative of a security. So he's just spewing the same nonsense. And it's so obvious that Gary Gensler is a puppet and he is just a string to the banks. He is so controlled. It's almost sad to see. He was sitting up there and his hand was shaking. If you looked closely at when he was getting drilled, he was shaking on there. He was actually scared, I think. And, at some point you kind of feel bad for him, did he really sign up for this? But when you're trying to do what he's doing, I guess it's just inevitable that backlash you're going to get. I mean, it was really bad. He's saying the whole time, just come register with us. It's fine. Come sit down with us. And then after you leave, we're just going to sue you. And it's going to be hell for the rest of your life. And that's not how it should be. It should be come to us with an idea. We help you. And I don't know when that's going to happen, but I want to play a clip of this Tom Emmer yesterday. He absolutely crushed it. All right. I don't know why the sound doesn't work. I gotta figure this out. Oh, well, so he gets blasted. I don't know why these clips won't play when I do this, but oh well. I don't know what it. Hold on. You know what? What up? What's up, Chris? My man. Tonight, 6:00. We'll be on with Chris and the verse. Gonna be awesome. Going through some extreme degen plays and just talking more about some Zen stuff. And yeah, tune in for that. I don't know why. Let me see if this works real quick. Yeah. I don't know why I can't get it to work. I got to figure this out. You'd think by now I know how to work StreamYard, but oh well. I'll learn. I guess it's not meant to be. Yes, tonight, 6:00, guys. Tune in. I'll be streaming that on our channel too. Gary Gensler is a clown. He consulted with Elizabeth Warren and SBS parents on crypto legislation. It's one big club, and exactly. You ain't in it. 100%. He is so bought by bigger agendas. This was awesome too. I wish I could play it right here of McHenry basically just blasting him using his own quotes and saying, do you agree with this, Gary? Reads him a quote and Gensler just rifles off some nonsense and it's his actual quote. So I don't know what this whole thing, in my opinion, is just a big puppet show to distract us. But inevitably, it has to paint a picture for just the average person who's not paying attention to crypto that just, flips through the headlines and sees this and just sees hypocrisy, the SEC, and hopefully ties it to the Liberal Party. And they can use that as a shift of administration or blame the current administration for being anti-crypto. And we're pro-crypto, the new administration coming in. I think that is a narrative that we're going to see big time. And this article right here, BNY Mellon expands digital asset team with former Zodiac custody and talent from BlockFi. Interesting. So while crypto companies are collapsing and U.S. regulators are on the hunt for rule breakers, BNY Mellon has been busy building its digital asset division and adding talent from across the ecosystem. So why are these banks doing this? If there's all this chaos in the market, why are they doing this? Why is Fidelity rolling out their brokerage accounts for businesses for crypto? Why is Fidelity putting crypto into their IRAs? Why is this happening as crypto is so risky? Silicon Valley Bank is shutting down or got shut down. Signature Bank shut down because they worked with crypto. The narrative is really bad that if you worked with crypto, your bank is going to implode. Had nothing to do with the bonds, that the bond market that's out of control. JP Morgan is doing what Silicon Valley and Signature Bank did, but at 100 times the scale. Their liabilities are over $100 trillion. They can pay back a couple percent of that maximum. So it's completely upside down. And they just use crypto as the scapegoat, which is really convenient. Meanwhile, on the back end, the banks are building out their crypto infrastructure, almost like this whole SEC lawsuit with Ripple was to stall their technology and slow them down. Ripple is a massive threat to the current system right now that is hanging by a thread, right? We are seeing inflation go through the roof. We're seeing the job market imploding. The interest rates are going up, which makes homeowners and home buyers life way more difficult. And then what's going to happen is I don't think it's going to be a real estate collapse in housing. It's going to be an office building collapse and an office or a vacancy problem. When you have all these companies that are leasing up space and now they're downsizing 50, 75%, and those leases expire, they're going to want a third of the square footage they had, a quarter of it maybe. And the banks that wrote those loans for these office buildings are all the small, local, and community banks. It's not the big JP Morgans and Bank of Americas. They don't write loans for small stuff like that. So this is, I think, a big, massive mass consolidation to get rid of all the small community banks, the savings banks, the credit unions, get rid of all them and consolidate everything into almost like a federalized, nationalized banking system where you have your 10 big players, JP Morgan, Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Citi, and they're straight off the Federal Reserve's tip, basically. Everything is backed and guaranteed. And now that the Fed and I think Bridge Bank is the bank that they created to shift over the technology that they stole from Signature Bank and Silicon Valley Bank. This was all about their technology, the clearinghouse that they used. They have a 24/7, 365 settlement house between all the exchanges that they can settle between them, and they don't have to use the banks. And now it's interesting that now the Federal Reserve and the Treasury own the technology to that clearinghouse and to that system. Are they going to shut it down? I don't think so. I think they're going to somehow incorporate that with CBDCs or digital dollars or deposit tokens, whatever it is. Right now it's a mass transition and consolidation of all the smaller banks. All these institutions and hedge funds and banks are buying up crypto like never before at astronomical rates. And why are they doing that? So they can roll out their institutional staking programs, like we've been talking about for months on here. With the Hex Trust is one. If you go to fidelity.com, you can read all about what they're doing. So this is for institutions right here, for them to custody your assets for you. And then if there's staking or any interest to be earned, you can now earn that safely. And until this is all in place and these systems are running for Google, for Boeing, for IBM, their staking protocols on Hedera, until they're set and they're earning and the banks have their protocols running, then they're going to try to sell you a derivative. So you're going to go to the bank, if you're brand new to crypto in a year or two, whenever this rolls out, you're going to go there with $1,000 and say, yeah, I heard about this coin, Shiba Inu. I want to buy $1,000 of it. And what they're going to do is say, okay, no problem. They're going to take your $1,000. They're going to you swap it into deposit tokens or stable coins or their JP Morgan dollars or whatever it is. And then they're going to try to sell you a derivative of that, like a JP SHIB or a Wells Fargo SHIB, some derivative just like gold. If you an ounce of gold or an ounce of silver, there's hundreds of paper ounces for those out there. So they want to hold in custody like Hedera. And when Chainlink staking comes out this year, they're going to be using those staking protocols, gaining the rewards, and that's where they're going to be earning money on that, earning money on the fees, and then selling you the derivative and saying, yeah, do you really want to custody it? Do you want to go through the nightmare of that? Just hold it with us and, you're completely safe. It's worth the same thing. You really don't know the difference. If you're holding a JPM link or a JPM SHIB versus the real thing in a storage wallet. And that is where this is all going, in my opinion. Do you think the bank consolidation will roll out? I don't know. I really am starting to think that these CBDCs are an epic failure, and it's not going to be what we think at all. I think they're going to be used for bailouts or for like stimulus, for like stimulus checks, for universal basic income, stuff like that. I don't see banks being able to do this unless there's some kind of anonymity built into it, which that's the whole point of it, is it's completely traceable. And how the fact that it is failed in Nigeria, it's failed in China like crazy. How are you going to roll it out here? I just don't see that. It's all of this is an offer at the end of the day. Everything is an offer. Public schools, the jab, everything in this world is an offer. You got to look at it that way. And I think the CBDCs are going to be rolled out as, hey, look, the current system is inflation is crazy. The dollar is dropping like crazy. This CBDC that's pegged to gold or pegged to some commodities will hold its value. And if you shift over to it, we'll give you a 10% bonus, or we'll give you $1,000 for opening up an account and closing your old one. That's how I think they're going to do it, is some kind of offer. What's up, Samantha? How are you? Good to see you. Appreciate you stopping in. And the growth will be zero for retail. Exactly, Mobius. That is 100% the point. That's how the stock market works right now. I didn't realize it until seeing Link 2 and the ICOs on there and the pre-sales or the IDOs. And the way it works is for Coinbase stock, for example, was $10 a share on there for accredited investors only. And you're the last ones on there at $10. I mean, when they were raising money for this, I mean, people are probably getting shares I know they were getting them for pennies, back in 2014. So when it went public, finally in 2020 or 2021, it was $360, $370. So that is a 37x if you were the last accredited investor to get into that presale. So even now at the rock bottom price of $50 or $60, you're still up 6x on your money. But every single person that bought on retail, that watched Jim Cramer, that listened to their stock guru, that was so excited for this coin to launch or this stock to launch, look what happened. It dipped down 85% and retail got wrecked. And that's how it is for every single stock. Unless you're in early in the pre-sales, you're just being dumped on by all the VC and early money. With Coinbase is the perfect example. All of retail had to pay over $350 unless you waited. And the last accredited investors to get in were at $10 a share. So you see that everyone that got in that's accredited is winning to this day. And everyone that's in retail is losing. It's going to be years before Coinbase turns a profit and is worth $400 a share. I mean, maybe not, but I really think it'll be a couple of years. And that's the same thing is going to happen with Ripple. I have some shares on Link 2 that we purchased over a year ago. And I don't see retail, when this launches, I don't see it doing anything different than Coinbase. It was $30, $40, $50 a share, depending when you got in. So if it launches at $300, $400, $500, it can dip down to $75 and everyone in early is still up 50, 100, 200% on their investment. Meanwhile, retail is getting annihilated. And that's exactly what is going to happen, in my opinion, right now. And, it's just a mass consolidation that's going on as these programs are all being rolled out by BNY Mellon, by JP Morgan, by Fidelity, and they're all going to be interoperable too. We're going to be able to move our stuff from our Engrave, our ledgers, our cold storage wallets. Yeah, this is an Engrave. I'm setting it up right now. Check out this touch screen on this bad boy. It is so awesome. It's literally the size of an iPhone almost, the screen on this thing. You see that? Jesus. There we go. They're really, really cool, this Engrave. And with everything that's going on with this crypto hack, I mean, it's OGs that their accounts are being drained. And I don't know if it's something to do with people's seed phrases that got exposed somewhere, but MetaMask came out and said that this is not only unique to MetaMask, that this is it's not a MetaMask specific exploit. Jesus, that is a mouthful. Wow. CBDCs only work if you're already dead. Exactly, bro. 100%. I read an article a couple months ago that China was bragging that they just crossed over $14 billion in settlements in their CBDCs. And you think, wow, $14 billion, that's a lot of money, until you realize that was over a 2-year period. And when you compare that to Tether, that's 12 hours of Tether. They're doing 30, 40, $50 billion a day. So the fact that the Chinese yuan, in the most communist country, the strictest country, I would say, one of them in the world, they were able to clear $14 billion in 2 years. That sounds like an epic failure. And I just don't see that being rolled out here. So it's going to all be an offer, just like the jab was. People say, oh, I had to do it for work. I had to do it to save my grandma's life. I had to do it or I would have killed everyone. I had to. No, it was all an offer at the end of the day. You could have found another job. You could have made it work. You could have done whatever you had to do, but it was an offer. And CBDCs will be the same thing, in my opinion. But, this right here is really, really scary. On April 18th, this is the wrong article. There's a nasty bug going around crypto OG holders, notably affecting one of the most critical parts of Web3, the MetaMask wallet. Over 5,000 ETH have been stolen from crypto veterans using a variety of non-custodial wallets since December. It appears developers at Consensus that built much of Ethereum's open source tooling, including the MetaMask wallet and Infura, are investigating the exploit, which appears to be deliberately targeting people who should know the ins and outs of crypto self-custody and security. That's scary right there. This is not a lowbrow phishing site or a random scammer. It has not wrecked a single noob. It only wrecks OGs. The attack is widespread, affecting keys created between 2014 and 2022 on at least 11 blockchains. The on-chain sleuthing has found the unexplained vulnerability may impact all wallets, including but not limited to MetaMask. So I've had this Engrave now for a year, but I have 3 ledgers that I use. So, all my Hex is staked. I have Hashpack wallet for Hedera. I have the Zoom wallet for XRP, the Lobster wallet for XLM. I mean, I have like 20 wallets right now that I control the keys to everything. So I don't use exchanges. And it wasn't until this right here that I said, you know what? I'm starting up this Engrave. I'm doing it. I'm transferring over everything that is going to be long-term holds, or at least not touching until the bull run is over. I think in a couple years, you just can't be safe enough. I got hacked for my adoption amplifier wallet. I sent like 3 ETH back in the day to the adoption amplifier, and it was a couple million hacks before big payday. And then after big payday, I staked it out and was in Denver at a crypto meetup that we put together, was on the Wi-Fi at the Airbnb we stayed at, not having a clue what I was doing, logged into MetaMask, and did some stuff on, checked my hex. I don't even know why I would check my hex stakes, but that just shows you when you're a noob, you don't know what you are doing. And you have to make these mistakes in order to know how to fix them. And just doing that without a ledger tied to my MetaMask account. Now, everything I do when I use MetaMask, you can go there, connect a hard wallet, and you connect your ledger, Trezor, and they're building out support for Engrave right now. So everything I do through MetaMask, I have to prove on my ledger. And that wasn't the case years ago. And now I'm taking it even a step further. Anything that I'm holding in my MetaMask wallets or any of my ledgers that I put my seed phrases into computers, I'm pulling it all back and sending it over to this Engrave. You cannot be safe enough, in my opinion. If this is really true that somehow they're finding seed phrases or something like that, and this is going back to 2014. So these are old wallets. This is way before MetaMask. So, and then MetaMask coming out and, with a direct statement saying that it was not unique to them. It's 11 blockchains that it happened to. And MetaMask confirmed their security team was researching the source of the exploit and was working across the Web3 space to figure out a solution. No one knows how this massive attack was conducted, but our best guess was that a significant amount of old data was obtained and used to extract the funds. She originally claimed the hacker was draining longtime MetaMask users and employees by using MetaMask. So could that be an inside job? I don't know, but we'll see. So last thing, this, if you guys don't know, the Hex Trust, this is where all the institutions are going for custody solutions, for DeFi, for staking, all of that. They're coming to the Hex Trust. They work with banks, asset managers, ETFs, hedge funds, VC funds, pension funds, sovereign wealth funds, exchanges, brokerage firms, CBDCs, insurance companies. You see where this is going? That they have to they have to get framework and custody down for the big boys, for the institutions, the VC funds, all of that before they can roll it out for retail for the small guy. So you can go here to HEX Trust, hextrust.com, and you can just go through their website. I mean, it's a rabbit hole once you start going through here, but you can kind of see where it's going, where it's headed, and how it can't just come for retail first. They're going to keep scaring us with these headlines. Bitcoin falls off a sudden cliff to $29,000. 98% of longs annihilated. Okay, that's a standard pullback. When you shoot up, you come back down and test support. That's just how it is. It's not a big deal. This is completely normal. But it's going to keep coming out. The FUD, the fear, they want you out so they can come and scoop up your assets for you or from you and then sell them back to you for pennies on the dollar. That, and as a derivative, that's where I think this is going. Is they're buying up all of these different coins. Look at all the blockchains now. Hex Trust was only on Hedera before, only HBAR. And now they've added 10 more blockchains on here that they're going to be working with. Flare is massive for passive income. I'm so bullish on Flare. One for the Flare drops. If you get your bag, you can buy a bag right now of Flare and you can take it and delegate it in the Bitfrost wallet and you will get your bag 10x. There's been 2 of the 36 drops that have happened. So there's still 34 more. They're basically snapshots. If you have 10,000 Flare, which is like $400, you'll get 15 to 18% on the next snapshot. So that's, right there, 18% just like that for free. And those coins are built into the supply. It's not new inflation that's coming into the market. So I hear that all the time, that Flare is an inflation bug. All it is just inflating to the moon. That's not true. They completely changed the distribution, the Flare drops, and I would check it out because you're going to be able to take Flare and take XRP and lock them up, provide liquidity, and start earning dollars in their whatever the canary dollar or whatever it is on there. So super bullish. So, all right, M. Hasek, let's give you a quick rundown on Zen right here. Self-custody going offline is the biggest theme for the next bull. 100%. That's where it's at. Zen was a free mint back in the day. It was like 6 months ago. You go to zen.network and you can free mint your Zen. You come up here, you connect your MetaMask wallet, go to mint, but gas is extremely expensive right now. Oh shit, I'm not in. Oh man, I'm in Brave. So you come in and mint it, and then it's free. You can stake it, start earning yield on it, and then there's a burn mechanism in there. I'm gonna go through it tonight with Chaos Chris in the verse at 6 o'clock. So I'll send you a link for that. But in the meantime, we got a special guest showing up in the building.
What's up, man?
My man Rags.
How you doing, brother?
Good, bro. Appreciate you stopping in.
Dude, so check this. I didn't realize this, but StreamYard gave me an option to stream this to my people and like set it up perfectly and very easily.
Dude, that's
so awesome. I get to piggyback off yours just with one button.
Awesome. I need to learn how you did that because I need to do it tonight with the verse.
I think it's just a new update. So when you join, top right, there's a button that says stream this to your people, essentially. You just click it. It's pretty cool.
Dude, that is awesome.
Yeah, it really is. How you doing, man?
Good, man. It's a wild couple days, man. Watching yesterday with Gary Gensler on, that was like, I don't even know what to think. Like, is it a movie? Is this real life? Like, how bought is this guy? And when I saw him like shaking like this on there, it's like,
dude, he got. So what was crazy was I streamed the last one. I think he has some sort of tick, but I think he was also nervous and it made it real bad.
Okay,
because I pointed that out last stream. But dude, like the difference between the first congressional hearing, which is like 3 to 4 weeks ago, and this one, man, they just came down on his ass hard, dude. Like I almost felt bad for the guy in a weird way.
Me too. I almost was like, man, like this poor guy, like this is a full-out assault.
But dude, like, but at the same time, he's an arrogant prick, man. Like, you know the little things like on April Fool's Day when he put the sunglasses on his profile picture. Did you see that?
I did.
And I'm like, dude, what does that even mean, man? You're a professional. What the hell are you doing here? And so, you know what? This is what it's all about. Coinbase strategically yesterday released that press release to the SEC that said, hey, listen, we're going to move our trading platform out of the United States if changes aren't made.
Mm-hmm.
So it gave me faith that a lot of these big players who control billions and billions of dollars of cash flow actually do have some say and some pull in Congress, man. It gave me some faith back. So what do you think?
Yeah, 100%. You know, I flooded myself out, I think, like 6 months ago, last summer, when I was watching the CBDCs roll out in Nigeria. Mm-hmm. And really see it like the stuff they're testing in Russia, the R5 that they're trying to build, that gold-backed currency, the central bank stocking up on gold. I pretty much convinced myself that, you know, this was coming. There was nothing we were going to be able to do about it. And lately I've had the complete opposite opinion. I think that it was perfectly orchestrated to get me to think that way, to scare me. So I didn't look into, or it stalled me out on actually figuring out what was coming, which I think is right now, Fidelity, JP Morgan, all these guys need to build out the infrastructure for their platforms before it can be rolled out to retail.
Yeah. And they need time FUD buys time for them to do that. They don't want the market taking off without their infrastructure in place, essentially. And we see that at the bottom of every bear market. So when they start telling you that it's time to buy, that's probably it's time to sell at that point. So yeah, man. I agree. JP Morgan, especially, they've been leading the way for a while, kind of in the background. And you know, how about that FTX news as well? Talking about FTX coming back online. What do you think about that?
I mean, I think it's almost like a slap in the face
Yeah.
to people. Like, I couldn't imagine losing. Like, if I was new and put a substantial amount of money into that exchange for the first time, or my life savings or everything, I couldn't imagine the feeling of it just being gone.
Mm-hmm.
And with no recourse, SBF just kind of doing whatever he wants, not even in prison, and meeting with Gary Gensler. I think when yesterday they asked him, how many times did you meet with FTX? And he said, I think my public record is twice. So yeah, that to me means you met with them way more than 2 times. Publicly, it was twice.
Well, those emails came out. It might have been the head of the CFTC going to baseball games with Sam Bankman-Fried, for example. Did you see that?
I did not.
Yeah, so they've got emails that came out between him and the other. They're basically like chopping it up. The CFTC guy is giving him tons of praise and props for being very transparent. They're going out to dinner. They had dinner. I think it was Gary Gensler. I forgot what the other guy's name was, but he's the head of the CFTC and one other. They're whining and dining and they're going. So it's just it looks really, really bad. And the head of the CFTC immediately after that resigns quietly and kind of just goes off into the night. So I think they were trying to play damage control back then, but now, dude, the spotlight is on our boy G Squared here, and I think they're gonna get his ass, man. They go get him.
I think so too. I mean, I just was thinking, like, just listening to like Tom Emmer and just kind of think, like, did they envision a day a couple of 2-3 years ago where you had access to your congressman on Twitter? They were responding to current events. Like, I did not see this coming, 3-4 years ago, where you would have the transparency, the openness, the engagement of these politicians on Twitter with the public. Like, it was, you used to have to write a letter to them, make a phone call, and who knows if they even heard from you. And nowadays you can, talk to them directly on social media, and just that open door, how fast things move, all the transparency, people talking to each other. Nothing can get kind of just brushed under the rug anymore. When it's brought into the mainstream, it happens so fast, it goes so viral. I think they just weren't prepared for just the nightmare or the storm behind this.
Dude, and there is so much resentment build up in the crypto community against Gary Gensler, man. I was looking at the comments, man. I even saw like Freddie Quote said something this morning. I'm like, damn, straight to Gary Gensler. And it's just dirty stuff, man. People hate that guy. But it's did you see the press conference he was involved with maybe like 3 or 4 years ago? He's talking, look at that. But the press conference 3 or 4 years ago when he was talking about Algorand and just giving them praise left and right.
Yeah, you could build Uber or run Uber on it, he said.
Yeah, and then he turns around and slaps him, destroys him. And you look at, I was looking at Paxos Gold. Okay, so that's their gold-backed stable. And they were heavily regulated by the New York Financial Department. And they're in communication and they check all the boxes. They do everything possible to do things right. And then out of nowhere, the federal government comes in, swoops in, the SEC, and just destroys their business. Who is one of their biggest clients? It was Binance. And Paxos gets screwed. Binance doesn't have a partner to issue those stables. So it's messy. I just don't understand the method behind this guy's madness. And it really showed when they asked him very plainly to define whether or not Ethereum was a commodity or a security. And and the first thing out of Gensler's mouth was, well, I've never delineated between any, and the congressman cut him off. And he says, you have said that Bitcoin is not a security. So that's one. Now, for the second biggest market cap in the world, I need you to discuss whether or not Ethereum is a commodity or security. And he couldn't do it. And they blasted him for it. So it's just simple things like that. He's been in office way too long not to have that defined already. And I think he's using that as a means to take people to court because there is no definition and people are out there in limbo. So they can just drain people out and they can just mess them up in court for long periods of time, man.
That's exactly it. You nailed it there, I think.
Yeah.
And Ripple was really convenient that all the banks got together in 2020 when they realized Ripple is really a problem now. This is a threat to everything we're doing. Oh, what can we do? Well, they all met, and within a month, the lawsuit was dropped on them. It's not going, Gary Gensler, I wouldn't be surprised if he's on salary from Joe Luber Consensus somewhere. He is out here. He can't say ETH's a security. He's out here to keep everything in limbo. So his banker friend, whoever he's in bed with, can get their way, or things can get stalled out so they can at least have a fighting chance to be a player in this ecosystem.
Yeah, man. But I'm going to pull a video up. You can do something for a second. I'm going to find this video and play it for you because it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, for sure. You see, the hatred for him on these comments is just,
dude, it's bad.
Putting this picture of him goose stepping up here next to the statue. It's like, God, what is he? He worked with FDR to establish our first federal securities laws 108 years ago. I heard a really interesting thing the other day that technology doubles every 18 months.
Yeah.
So right now, if you made laws for crypto in 18 months, they wouldn't even be good. It could move so fast, you couldn't even legislate the markets.
Yeah, and here, to speak on that, like think about being a legislature. It's like in order to take control of something that is moving fast, but not only moving fast, moving on a parabola, the only way to control that is to completely centralize it and have one person be the gatekeeper for any sort of innovation that you want to try to accomplish. So instead of just being able to go out there and do it and let the market do its thing, you have to ask for permission before you do anything. And I think that's what we're seeing with Gensler. He's trying to slow everything down because I think that technology is at least, at this point, how many decades, at least a decade ahead of the law right now. And you see that with technology in general. You get away with a lot of things until the law catches up. So I think he wants to be that single point of failure, or that gatekeeper that says, yes, you can do this. No, you can't do this. And that way he can slow that speed of innovation down, which really sucks. But that's the school of thought that he comes from. And one of his biggest collaborators from the legislative side is none other than Elizabeth Warren, who doesn't know shit about this. She parrots just so much, and it's so cringe to listen to her and not understand anything that she's talking about, especially with that Bitcoin interview that she did with 60 Minutes or something recently here. But you look back in his history, man, and he is just part and parcel to the Democrat Party. And he's just of that school of thought that they know how to do better with your money than you know how to do with your money. And they will legislate as such. And it really sucks, man.
Yeah, it does. And I think that it's getting now to the point where even if you're not involved in crypto, even if you don't even know anything about it, and you just watch those interviews, and this is the chair of the SEC, you're going to probably, how could you watch that and be like, yeah, reelect him?
Yeah.
It's going to change the attitude. And I think it also, he's now setting up to be this administration is the perfect scapegoat for why they couldn't get anything done. And when next year, when the new administration comes, they can blame everything on Gary Gensler, everything on this current administration. And that's why we are where we are. And with us, we will be where we need to be.
Bingo. trying to find this damn video. Gary Gensler.
Let's check some charts here. It was ugly looking at the bubbles just an hour or so ago. Woo. But we needed that. Things got a little bit out of control.
So what happened? Why did all this pop? What's going on?
It's just Bitcoin popping up over 30, and then same story. It retraces a little bit and pops back up, but Bitcoin dominance is starting to fall. So I think we'll have a little alt season, hopefully.
Yeah,
that's what I'm hoping for. There's a little push hold up above 30K again for another couple weeks, little alt season, and then I think it's going to get ugly in May.
You think it's going to get bad?
I do. I think so. Yeah.
So I've got about, so my predictions on January 1st ran out until May 1st. So I've got here about like 11 days before I have to, save face here and apologize to everybody. But I said by May 1st, if Bitcoin isn't down in the between 10 and 15,000, then we're going to have to kind of readjust and pivot. And it looks like it's not going to drop that far. So we'll see. So anyway, here's why I don't trust damn Google first. Okay. There has been a video up of Gary Gensler for the longest time, going back 10 years ago when he was teaching the MIT blockchain course, which he did. And he was talking about the Howey test, and he uses Ethereum, and he makes the case and proves with each leg of the Howey test that Ethereum is a security. And now it's wiped. It's wiped off the face of Google. And I just hate that, man. Absolutely hate it. I don't trust Google for anything. I don't trust any of these big tech companies. But that's going to come back to bite Gary, because he has made the case. That is his personal opinion, that Ethereum is a security because of the ICO, because they sold token. And everybody got it, 30 cents a pop, I think it was back then. So I don't know, man. We'll see. Gary, I hope his days are numbered, but I'm certainly not confident in that.
No, a lot of people are getting so excited because they might restructure the SEC. That's going to take so much that I don't see that happening. There's no need. You just get someone in there that's not Gary Gensler, that is just a pro business person that will actually work with people. That position it's not the position, it's the person and the agenda.
Yeah. And I mean, here's the thing too. A weird thing happens in politics, and Gary Gensler is a part of that political machine. The people on the Democratic left who screw up the most tend to get promoted to higher levels. So what you're going to see, if Gary Gensler were to be removed, which I doubt that he will be, but if he were to be removed in about 5 years or less, he's going to replace Janet Yellen as the Treasury Secretary, especially if there's a Democrat Congress or anything of that nature. So it's a weird rule in politics in Washington, but they circle the wagons around people who screw up because they're trying to save face, and they don't want to look inept. So they actually promote people. It's crazy. It is not the real world.
And how much longer can this whole fractional reserve banking? When it first started, you had to physically walk into your bank account to pull your money out.
Yeah.
Now it's the click of a button. It's unsustainable. And just to see the bashing of Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank for working with crypto or whatever firms, and it just so risky for them to do that. But JP Morgan is 100 times as over-leveraged as these banks were.
Here's what I look at, man. I look back in let's go to the 70s, right? Carter era. People don't realize they raised interest rates to 20% back then. Federal funds rate. I'm like, what? 20%? It hurt the economy, right? I mean, fuel was out of control, inflation, stagflation, all that. It was bad, but people survived it. Can you imagine them raising inflation rates to 20% today? You want to talk about devastation? Now, what does that tell us? That tells us that these tools that they're using to manipulate the markets however they want to, the tools are actually the power is amplified because the whole country is so over leveraged. So the issue here is, we're raising interest rates 5 basis points over the past 22 months, or maybe like 3.5 basis points total. That's really not good. Okay. But what's going to happen in 10 more years when the next bubble forms and the next bubble pops? These tools that they have to try to correct the economy, raising interest rates, or 200 basis points rather, I'm sorry, raising interest rates 200 basis points would completely obliterate everything. So that they don't have as much leeway anymore because the economy is over leveraged, and these tools that they were using to correct things in the past, they're becoming too strong. The pendulum swings too far the other way. Everything is just way, way too volatile, and it's only going to get worse. My idea is, this is 2023. I'd say here in the next 10 to 15 years, if we get out of this okay, is going to be the last bubble of all bubbles before the dollar really collapses. I don't see it any other way. And I think a lot of countries know that. And I think over the next 10 years, you're going to see people pivoting to be able to absorb that downfall and that destruction.
Yeah, that definitely. I completely agree. But I think right now, people think there's going to be another housing crisis or real estate crash. I just don't see it, honestly.
No.
I sold commercial real estate for 10 years. So I was in real estate before. And I'm still hearing people, yeah, I'm still looking for a house, still trying to buy a house. I'm not hearing what I heard in 2008 back then when McDonald's employees were getting loans for 300 grand.
Yeah.
And so I think what it's going to be, I said earlier, it's going to be retail office buildings. That's where the problem is all the loans for those offices. And there's local office buildings in every city around the country. All those loans are written by community and local banks, not JP Morgan, Citi, Wells Fargo. So I think this is just a mass consolidation to get rid of the community banks, the savings banks, the small local guys, and kind of nationalize the banking system straight to the Fed. You'll have your handful of too big to fail banks that are backed 100%. Now the Fed owns Signet's clearinghouse that all the exchanges were using. They started Bridge Bank. So now there's a Fed-owned and operated bank with the technologies that they were using to settle in crypto. They're just going to usher that right into Bridge Bank, and who knows? They could just, I don't know where it's going, but it's crazy.
You bring up a good point, Adam. When you look at the when you look at the trajectory of centralizing finance and centralizing government, you have to remove variables from the bottom up. You have to remove the retail variable. You have to remove the free market variables, and the biggest representative of those free market variables are actually community driven banks. Okay, because they have the ability to make decisions apart from the decisions that the regional and the national banks make. Why is that? That's because a lot of these community banks were started by, for example, in my city, GE, General Electric. It's been in my city for 75 years. Those people created their own community bank back then. All the money stayed in the community, and it's been around this entire time. Okay, so they don't really like that because they don't have access to that to be able to manipulate it as much. They want to set the rules. They want to set the rates. They want to set the deadlines. They want to do all of this. So they have to remove those variables that they can't control. And we see that more and more and more. I think that's also why they want to remove the retail component from cryptocurrency as well, which is why you see the attack on stables, which is why you see the attack on centralized exchanges. And I think they're going to replace it with government exchanges, with the CBDCs as the stables in there. and that's going to be their way that they do compliance. Now, we are seeing a pushback right now, a legislative pushback. We are seeing Congress people get more educated on how crypto works and the importance of it. And not only that, how much America is losing out right now because there are companies, major companies, publicly traded companies on the stock exchange that don't want to do business in the United States anymore. That's got to scare a lot of these Congress people, especially when there's a lot of jobs associated with that too. So, you know, we have had this centralized trajectory for quite a long time, for probably at least for the past 20 years is when it really ramped up. And now we get to A/B test these things. What has that train of thought and legislation and policy and, you know, economics, where has that gotten us up until this point? And I would argue that we are much worse off, much worse off than the alternative. And I hope the pendulum swings back the other way and people can see what more free market solutions can do for the country coming up here in the next 5 or 10 years. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's such a good point.
Yep.
I mean, the pendulum is swinging harder than ever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, from what's going on in schools to just everywhere. And that's dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it gets really dangerous when that pendulum starts swinging out of control.
Yep.
And I hope that they don't. I think they're going to pause interest rates, but that kind of alarms me because they should have just jacked them up a full basis point or whatever it was 2 meetings ago instead of doing this quarter point, 50 point. Just do one, get it over with, so we can be in a recession. We can go down for the next couple months because as soon as we're in a recession, the markets are going to dump, and that's kind of what I'm fearing in May is they're going to pause and they're going to stop the rate hikes, and that's going to trigger the recession, and then we're going to have 6 months of kind of just going sideways.
Yeah, and there's another way to accomplish this, and I just don't understand why they don't talk about this. You know, the inflation that we're looking at right now has a lot to do with supply side stuff. We're constrained on the supply side. So one of the ways to overcome inflationary periods is actually to increase production to meet that demand. Okay, so that's one thing that we could do. Here's the problem with that ideologically from the political left. The problem is you're going to be giving money to corporations to increase production. And they would hate to anger their base by saying, "Oh, you're just in bed with these evil corporations," when in reality they always have. But that would be one way. And you can still accomplish both things. Now, here's how. Right now, they're taking approximately $90 billion out of the economy every single month. Some months it's higher, some months it's lower. Okay. So we've got quantitative tightening. We can still have quantitative tightening, but we don't have to take 90 billion out. We could take like 40 billion out or 50 billion out and then give the rest to direct it to these supply chains that really, really need help to increase production and then ease inflationary pressures. So I don't understand why that's not on the board. That has been done in the past, and it's worked very well in the past. But again, it just kind of goes back to this, and Adam, you've heard me say it before. The longer that a problem sticks around, the more power that legislatures have over your life. So they really don't like for problems to go away, in my opinion. They want them to stick around because they are able to legislate and maintain and grow power when there's problems. So maybe that's why.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And it's just all the more need, I think, for us as individuals to start building locally. You know,
Yes.
in your own community. You know people, know your neighbors. If you don't know them, go introduce yourself to them. You know, just start meeting, know 10 people within 10 miles, people that you can call that will actually help you. Hey, you know, I got to, oh yeah, sorry. No, know 10 people that are really there. Start locally, start building our own supply chains. You know, there's no reason why, like in 5 years, we can't have our own food chains, our own, homeschooling, our own schools for kids, or like, I think if you took a baby now and you did homeschooling towards like, just stuff that mattered, crypto and math and, whatever it is, versus the current system, you're better off doing it on your own. So I think that there's a major shift going on right now, and that it all starts. And that's why I think I love Texans so much.
Yeah.
It's starting with the grassroots.
This is, everything needs to be rethought, man. I think that for the better part of maybe since the 1950s and 1960s to now, things have just gone downhill. We've lost our way. I was reading about Plato, and I was reading about Socrates and some of the old philosophers. And you know how they raised children for the first 10 years in terms of education? You know what they did? It was like 95% of the time these children were outside playing. And if they were learning by playing. They were moving constantly, this and that. I've got my 5-year-old in kindergarten right now, and the teacher's upset with him because she says he can't stay on task. I'm like, well, no shit. He's 5 years old and he wants to move and he wants to run and he wants to do these things. And she's like, I just don't think he can concentrate well enough to pick this stuff up, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, and I couldn't believe, like, reading how they raised those children to about 10 years old. They said 10 years old is the very earliest that somebody could sit in a classroom and have the attention span to be able to absorb things. And they had that wisdom back then. And we already know that, but that's not applied in schools right now. It's like 5 years old. You got to sit in a classroom for 6 hours per day. It's crazy. So there's a lot of things that need to be retaught, and I think it also takes education on our part. We've got to educate ourselves on history. We got to go back and realize that, like, right now isn't the pinnacle of all of human wisdom. It might be the pinnacle of technology, maybe. It might be the pinnacle of a lot of things, but not wisdom. Wisdom is accumulated over thousands and thousands of years. And who are we to say that the past 50 years were more wise than they were in the past 10,000? That's craziness. And that's evidenced by some of the things that we can read in the past. So I implore people to go just keep reading history, man. There's so much out there, so much to learn, and so much we can take from it.
Yeah, it is, dude. It's the dumbing down of just what screens have done to the youth is just awful.
Well, then you think about this. Think about the children who are more prone to be hyperactive at that age. They're boys. These are also the children that are more prone to be put on medication because the parents don't know shit about history or how kids act. So they just go to the doctor, they dose them up, and these boys are completely destroyed from a young age. And really, if you want to talk about equity and equality and equality of opportunity, are we really giving that to our young boys when we're out here just destroying them from a young age? No, it's not fair. We're not letting them be boys. We're not letting them develop the way that they're supposed to develop. Girls and boys develop differently. Now, I'm not saying there's some wild ass girls at the age of 5 hopping around, and a lot of them are, but I'd say for the most part, boys can be difficult at that age. And it's identified as a sickness and a weakness rather than a strength and a feature of a young boy. So that also has a lot to do with, I think, confidence in society. And especially if you take that out over 10 or 15 or 20 years, when these boys hit the age to get into the real world and see things happening, they don't have that confidence. They've been downtrodden their whole life. They've been taught that something's wrong with them, and there's not. So it all just ties together, man, in really big ways here.
Yeah, I mean, think everything naturally. You're looking around, and you see one thing, and you're told another. You go into classroom, you naturally want to get up and go outside, but you're forced to sit down and stare at a board or listen to some. It's everything that your body and your mind is telling you to do, you're actually doing the complete opposite. And that has to take an effect at some point. I wish I could have went homeschooled and not, but it was different when we were younger. I feel like homeschooling was like looked at as, they're homeschooled. Like it was a stigma against it. And now it's completely changing.
Yeah. I'm like, why does my kid go to school for 8 hours a day to have 45 minutes to an hour worth of homework at 5 years old? How does that make any damn sense? And if you haven't guessed it, I'm not too happy with his teacher, and I get to have a parent-teacher conference tomorrow. I might live stream it, folks, because it's gonna get spicy.
Oh yes.
So, and then they punish the child if they can't get the work done in this small amount of time. They punish the child by not letting them go out and play and things like that. I'm like, what is going on here, man? Freaking 5 years old. What is happening here? Oh, you're just making excuses for your son. No, I know how my son operates, and I know how many sons across the world operate. So it's something that you got to be vocal about, and you got to confront these people head on, because they're so set in their ways, and they've been trained They haven't been trained traditionally. They've been trained in the modern ways of doing business, and it just doesn't work. And I know it doesn't work because I'm a product of, I think, of doing it for the most part the right way. And I remember how I felt back then. So, and it's only gotten worse. So, summary, man. Yeah. I think we just got to rethink a lot of things about life, and we have to take responsibility for it and go execute on it, in my opinion.
And start building our own everythings. Like it's completely doable. It just sat and it's just never really needed to be an option. It was never a priority. But now if you have the option to grow your own food, buy food from your friends that's organic, that's not riddled with chemicals and hormones and pesticides and God knows what else. Just starting there and homeschooling our kids, building schools for each other. I mean, that's the future, man. It all starts locally.
It does, and I feel like that's what it used to be, right?
That's when America was great. Everyone had a farm on their property, pretty much.
And they were responsible for taking care of themselves first. And then they had a surplus, and they could go use that surplus to trade with other people. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. But again, I'll go back to the philosophers. Even the philosophers knew if you had something that was owned collectively by a lot of people, it wasn't taken care of. Right? Because there's a very few that try to take care of it, but most just depend on somebody else to do it. But when you have one thing that is owned by one person, that person is going to take a lot of responsibility for that one thing. And I think that we can see that across society. We need to focus on community. We need to drill down. I hate to use the word decentralized because it's the most overused term in history, but there is power in decentralization. There's power in decentralization in schooling. There's power in decentralization in energy. There's power in decentralization in finance. It's a really, really free market way to view things, and it works. So I just hope we can get back to that.
Yeah, that's well said. I can't think of any private sector that is outdone or outpaced or just runs more efficient or less efficient than a government. The same thing in a government position. Everything that's privately run is 10 times more efficient than the same government agency doing the same thing.
Yeah, I kind of think of government like when you're driving down the highway, the cars on the highway are kind of like the free market. All right. Now the government, here's what the government can be. Those cheap looking like aluminum guardrails on the side of the highway that if you do come off the highway, it's going to, they'll probably get destroyed, but it's going to keep the car from careening into the ditch. Right. So you have that. That's a form of limited government. But then you go in some places And you see those guardrails are actually, and those guardrails, they might have cost $50,000 per mile. Okay. But then in some places you go and you see these damn barriers that look like the border in Mexico that shoot up 150 feet, and they're kind of corrugated, and they're to decrease sound in the neighborhood behind them. And for every mile, it costs $20 million. Okay. They both accomplish the same thing. It's just that one costs a whole lot more money. It costs a whole lot more time. It was much more wasteful. Government can be limited. Okay. And that's what it's for. It's to keep things fair, but as limited as possible. Now, when you get to the point where the barriers are costing more than the highway and the cars, then you have a really, really, really big issue. And that's where we are right now in society, in my opinion.
Yep. 100%. And that the pendulum is swinging. People are waking up to it. And that's why I think it's so important for us to offer solutions, not just harp on the negative stuff and, oh, this is America. Okay, what's your solution to this? What are you going to do to make it better for your kids, for your kids' kids? What are you going to do about that? And there's stuff you can do. And that's what I can't wait to do over the next couple of years is start building the infrastructure, a farm, stuff to start producing locally, not relying on the chaos.
Love it, man. Yeah. And you can build community alliances. You can have farmers markets, man, where you can go sell your surplus and you can trade amongst each other, and people show up, and it's just a beautiful thing. And then you can take that alliance and you can go out to restaurants and you can go to diners and you can go to these establishments and you can say, hey, well, we can provide you X, Y, and Z things, and this is what our alliance has to offer you. And then, I mean, it's just beautiful. You can build things out naturally that way and not have to depend on these massive suppliers that come in and offer pennies on the dollar for your farmland and just don't give a damn about you. So, dude, I completely agree. It starts there. That is one way to definitely make a big dent.
And the tax code and the way the laws are set up, it encourages that. It encourages you to do that, to start do that, and then employ your neighbor or whatever for a little bit to help you out when you need. And it's all write-offs, and it encourages you to start building your own stuff. And people don't realize that. Oh.
Yeah, I had an idea to create a every hunting season. I live out here in the mountains, and everybody goes hunting, and they always have deer meat for the next 2 years off of one season in their freezer. I'm like, why don't we just create a meat market where you can consign your meat and you get paid for it, with your surplus? Because those people aren't going to eat that. It just stacks up and stacks up. But it's stuff like that. Just create a market for the surplus. So you can go from there and you help feed the community.
100%. I love it. Well, I really appreciate you stopping in. That's all I got for ranting today. I got to save some for 6 o'clock tonight with the verse. Nice.
I came on here to help prep for my stream later today, so thank you. You helped.
Hey, any way I can help, I'm here.
Yeah, man.
Mr. Rafferty.
I saw him. Look at that crazy bastard.
Oh, all right, guys. Well, I appreciate everybody stopping in that was here. Didn't get through the chat. There was a little too much going on. So tonight, 6 o'clock. If you're not aware, be on the Versus channel, doing a live stream with Chris and Rags. What time are you streaming today?
I'll probably fire it up here in about an hour.
All right.
Yep.
1 hour. Check out Rags' stream. I'll be in there for sure. Praying Luna pumps.
Dude, that's all we can do is pray, man.
I know.
That's all we can do. And dance.
Exactly.
Dance to the gods, the Luna gods.
Awesome. All right, guys. Appreciate you stopping in, and we will catch you soon.
All right. Be good, guys.
At Vibra Finance, we seek out the hidden gems in cryptocurrency. We will tailor your portfolio to work for you. Are you ready to transition your investments from traditional markets to cryptocurrency? Are your coins staked and earning interest? Are you overwhelmed with all the jargon in crypto? Is your portfolio underperforming and you want to reposition into consistent winning blue chip coins and viable projects? Do you feel like you missed out on DeFi, Metaverse, and NFTs? Here at Vibra Finance, we provide you with the data, skills, and tools you need to stay on top of the digital asset market. Vibra Finance. We are the future of crypto.